Let me introduce myself. My name is Fraser Angus, and I'm the Deputy Head in the Primary Department in the School of Research Science, that's in Murdoch. And this is my colleague, Gary McAnally. He's responsible for global links in the primary school. So we spend quite a lot of time working together at SRS. Today's title for this session is How Can I Build a Global Project in Our School? It's something that Gary and I have worked together on for the past few years, and hopefully today in this session we'll just share some ideas covering things like action planning and things that we've done. Hopefully you can take away to your own educational settings as well. We'll try not to make it too much just about our own school, but really make it so that you can take some of the ideas away with you. Okay, so we want as well, if you have an idea or a suggestion, just please feel free to offer that up during the session. We don't really want it to be too much like a lecture style.
As Fraser said, we will touch a lot on a project that we've done in our school, but that's just because that's all we know. But what we've done in our school is relevant in all of your schools. It's all about planning and your organisation. So we apologise in advance if we keep talking about our school, but try and think of it in the context of your school, your institution, and how it would work there.
Now we have a few of these pictures just dotted around. They might be on your table there in front of you. And the first task for this session, we'll just spend a few minutes just to break the ice, if you like. Can you please have a go at trying to tell us where you think these photographs might come from? Which country are we in? Where are we in the world, as the title says? And feel free to discuss it with anyone beside you or share some ideas you have. Okay, we have some pens here. Okay, hopefully everyone's had even just the quickest look at those pictures and has an idea. Let's start off with this first one up at the top. Then you can see a city landscape, if you like. Any suggestions or ideas? Shanghai, okay.
I think I've seen this exact scene in a movie before. I think it's somewhere in the States.
Okay. Maybe in Singapore. Okay. So we're thinking some big cities are coming to mind straight away. What about the next one then, with these fancy cars, beautiful building of some kind? New Zealand, European country, maybe Scotland, so a Western country, possibly. Okay, down here it starts to get a bit more adventurous. We're in the mountains somewhere, some snow. Could be Asia. Rockies. Okay, yeah, so trying to pick out some of the famous mountain ranges that you might know. Now the last one then, a few clues in there.
African tribe somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. An African tribe. Okay. Now, would you be surprised if I told you that all of those photographs are from Kenya? All of them. Now, sometimes our students can narrow this one down to Africa. They know it's a tribe, and then we try and teach them a little bit about the Maasai. But what they don't appreciate is the start that, of course, Africa as a continent has many different faces, and not just the faces that we sometimes are sort of presented in the media and through stereotypes and those kind of things. So for us, this was a starting point really to try and shift our students' perceptions, if you like, of the globe, and then look more closely at their role as a global citizen as well.
Sort of it ties into, as teachers, before any lesson, you're assessing prior knowledge. So before we set out on this journey, we knew this was going to be a long journey, a big project. We had to assess prior knowledge of the country that we wanted to go to, prior knowledge of their preconceived ideas of that country. Because if we put this picture or this slide, and they all told us Kenya, 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 is there any point in us spending 2 years building a project to teach them about it when they already know it? So this was what this was about, to try and find out what they know, what they think they know, and what we want to teach them and where we want to go with that.
Okay. And, you know, just as you guys, it's very easy to hook them in with something like that, which is just messes a little bit with our thinking. So Gary and I started out really with the end in mind. We knew that our students came from different countries, and you know, most of our students actually come from the Emirates as well. But where we thought our students needed some further input was recognizing the world outside of Dubai. As you know, we live in a wonderful city. It's very safe, very clean, and it's not always that you see what the world looks like beyond. So our aim was to develop our students really as global citizens, and we decided to do that by building a partnership with a school in a different location. It had to be a very different school to our own one, and we talked for a long time about the types of school that might be suitable for a partnership, and then Gary spent the next while really researching that further.
As Fraser touched on, our school, we're quite a large primary and secondary school. I think we're close to 70% Emirati children. The rest of our school makeup is mostly other Arab children. So although there are many nationalities, culturally they're quite similar. The majority of our staff are British. So we've got that Arab cohort of students and this British cohort of staff. So we can understand their own cultures a little bit. So when we went about finding a school, it couldn't be in the Arab world, because what was the point? We can use our students for that, we use their parents. And we didn't want it to be in Western Europe because, again, we can use the resources we already have in our teachers. So we set about finding a school. It was important that they spoke English, because although we teach Arabic and English, communicate in English, it was important that they spoke English. However, we didn't want an English-speaking country, because we wanted them to be as similar to our students as possible. So English as a second language. The other important thing was that it was different from our staff, because we wanted our staff involved. Because if you're trying to run a project for students, if the staff aren't engaged, they're not involved in the project, they're not enthusiastic about it, they're not going to follow through with what our vision was. So we set about, we found a website called the British Council. Have any of you used the British Council before? That's it. Because it's for students, teachers, and any sort of academic institutions.
I used it on resources.
The British Council is amazing. I mean, you sign up as a school, it just takes one teacher to sign you up. And there's endless possibilities of things you can do on there. And what we used it for was the connecting classrooms. Is that something that you see? So connecting classrooms is basically, it's just like a search engine. Put in a country, and it will give you a school or multiple schools within that country. And we, at that stage, we narrowed our countries down. We were thinking Uganda, Kenya, we weren't quite sure. So we eventually found a school in Kenya that we wanted to go to. Now, on connecting classrooms, there's then a next step that they've designed your projects. So you can tie into one of those projects and do it through there. There's a little bit of funding involved if you can go down that avenue. We stopped there, we picked that school, and then we wanted to design the project that worked for us. So over the next probably 3-4 months after we found the school, we sat down and started planning. And that was probably the longest stage of the whole project, was the planning stage.
And as Gary said, that was planning everything from the vision for the project. What did we want at the end? Who was going to be involved? Did we need some additional funding from school? Which we did. So we did all these procedures formally. We applied to our senior leaders and said, this is the amount of money we would like, this is why we want it, and this is what we think the outcomes will be. And fortunately for us, they were very supportive of our vision and ideas. Then we look a little further into what it means in the classrooms and the nitty-gritty, the sort of lessons, the activities, the day-to-day, how we sort of measure that and come back to evaluating whether we've been successful or not. So, the vision.
So Fraser and I set about designing our vision for what we wanted within our school. But the vision had to take in everyone. It couldn't just be our students. although the role of us as teachers is to teach our students, a school is a community. It doesn't just involve us, them, chair, and that's it. No.
Yeah.
It's a whole community, so we needed to involve our students on their level. We needed to involve our staff on their level, and we needed to involve our parents. And that was going to tie in the whole project. So for the students, we set about thinking about what projects can we do within the class? How can we teach them about this other culture by using that school? How can we engage them with different students? And in any one school it works, so we can do pen pals, we can send pictures, they can draw half a picture, post it off, it gets finished in the other school, it comes back. And that gets children enthusiastic. And within the lessons you're teaching them about that country or that culture, and they're always learning. And then for our teachers, that's not going to work. Teachers becoming pen pals with other teachers, it'll be interesting, but there's another level there. Another level we looked at was volunteering. The school that we chose, there's a couple of pictures there, is very different from our school. Okay? Like ours, we have a brand new campus, it was built 2 years ago, with 3,000 students, and we kind of have all the resources we want. But the school we found wasn't like that. So we thought, how can our teachers help them and help themselves at the same time? So it's finding that project that works for your teachers, and for us it was volunteering. Our teachers would go to their school, they'd help out for a while. Our teachers would learn things, they would improve their CV, they would professional development for them, but their teachers would learn from us. And then on top of that is the next stage we thought about our parents. What can we do with our parents? Now we could have invited our parents to Kenya, they could have came and helped out, but they're not teachers. So they get a great experience out of it, but do they want that, do they need that? So how can we get our parents involved? And we sat down, we discussed it, and we thought, let's do an exchange. So we worked out the exchange wasn't going to work both ways. We couldn't really get our kids and send them there. So we had, first year I think we had 6, 7 Kenyan students, and we brought them to Dubai. And then our parents got involved then by taking over the project. So we worked for 2, 3, 4, 5 months, got them to Dubai, and then our parents took over, and it was then their project. And that tied everything together. Now, that worked in our school. As we said at the start, it won't work in everyone's school. But even if it's a local project and you're doing it with a local organisation, it's about getting the 3 stages of the project. The one that gets everyone on board and that ties everything.
And everyone stays in their role, if you like. The kids just were kids, they talked to Kenyan kids, they communicated with Kenyan kids. The parents were just parents, they looked after the Kenyan kids. And our teachers were teachers, they just were transported to Africa for a week and engaged with the community there.
Just the last point, Fraser, is stay fixed on this, but be flexible how you achieve it. It's really important in any project, I'm sure you know that, being teachers. We had this vision, we knew we wanted at the end of the day. We started mapping it out, but we had to change continually along the way. We never gave up on the vision and what we see at the end, but things change as you go on. And that's important just to keep a hold of. Keep a hold of your vision. Don't give up on the vision, but expect hurdles along the way that you might have to deal with. On top, after the vision, that was Fraser and I were like, this is where we want to go. Then it was the long part, the planning. And regardless of what your project involves, this is one of the critical areas of it. It's getting it right before you start. Who will be involved? We knew that Fraser and I had this vision, but we couldn't. We both have other roles within our school. So we had to think, how can we get everyone involved? How long is it going to take? Do we have the time to do this? Funds. Next up.
How do you raise the funds?
How do you raise the funds? And
Big question. Big question.
massive question.
Yes.
Coming from the UK, we thought.
Big one.
Coming from the UK though, we thought, easy. We're living in Dubai.
Yeah.
We have 70% Emirati children. Our parents are nice, they're generous, they're kind. It'll be a piece of cake. Because coming from the UK, that's the way it works. You send in a letter, the parents bring money in. That's not how it works in Dubai. And we learned this the hard way. We didn't research that enough. So we just went, funding will be fine. We started looking into it. There's so many different laws in this country based around fundraising that don't exist in the UK. Luckily enough for us, our owner of our school was a very generous lady. So she part funded or mostly funded the student-led project. Then, when it came to the teachers funded that themselves through their own fundraising through us, their parents, their family, everyone. And then when it came to the parents project, again our owner flew them here, she paid for that, but then the parents took over, and that's when it becomes theirs. So they could make that project as big or as small as they wanted, and that's where the funds came for that. But that's critically important. Think about that before you start any project, no matter how big or small. Because even if it's sending letters to another school, who pays for the postage? You need to have that budget in place.
And as large or as small as you want to make it within your setting as well. You know, Gary and I are describing something fairly large, but you know, within one class you can have teachers connecting, students connecting, and even parents communicating as well, and using technology to overcome some of the, you know, financial hurdles that could oh, bring that back, could be in place. Now, the theme of today obviously is, you know, thinking globally, and that has led Gary and I to include a slide like this, which reminds us that although we have these global themes and we want to think outside of the box, but we know there's not the box now, all of these people were from Dubai and helped us in one way or another. So please be very mindful of the Dubai context in the local community as well. The national newspaper, they got right behind the story when we were hosting the students, and they came, they ran a couple of stories. This is one of our students, Abdullah. He's one of our host families. You know, his family, an Emirati family, welcomed Obaid from Kenya to come and stay. And before the students came, we engaged with the Kenyan embassy in Dubai as well, who came to our school to present. So there's lots of different people and agencies within the local community that you can engage with as well. Even some of our catering staff were actually from Kenya, but we hadn't even realised before we began in this project that, you know, within our own school setting there was actually people who could contribute so much as well. So be very mindful of the local community.
And this helped us in, when it came to this project, we only had, I think, 6 students involved, so 6 families. But we needed to involve the rest. As I say, we've almost 3,000 students. So the likes of when we had the embassy come in, they were giving talks to whole year groups. When the newspaper went out, they got the story out to the whole school. And it was trying to get everyone involved. So whenever that project happened, whenever they arrived in our school, our kids already knew about the country they were coming from. They already knew about the project. They knew what was going on. So we had to make sure we always got the message out to everyone. Because you can get stuck if you're running a project that involves a limited amount of people. You can kind of get lost in that and just focus on those people. Remember your whole school. And remember the reason we do the projects is to teach our kids. So for us, it was about teaching them about this country. So always remember the lessons you need to teach them along the way.
After the planning phase, and when we speak about planning, it's the sort of the wider, then it was about involving our teachers in the creative side of it. So what would our students be doing day to day? How were they engaging with other students from other schools? Now, the hosting was part of it, and the volunteering within class, the research that was going on, that links back to the embassy. But even the most basic things, English work like writing letters to them, physical letters. So those skills in the modern world today, you know, maybe we don't place so much emphasis on receiving an actual letter, but you know, when we got those letters from Kenya, it was really meaningful to our students. Now our students are very fortunate, you know, they lead very sort of privileged lives, but receiving a letter had a great impact on them. It was just something different. They'd never happened to them before. But be aware of how technology can, of course, break down those barriers. You've heard it today. That's when you can engage with people. Wasn't something so much that we applied to this project for some obvious reasons. You know, our friends in Kenya, it's not the easiest thing for them. Even initially, they had to travel to the next village to send an email from the internet cafe. So some things that we take for granted, it doesn't happen in other parts of the world. So, you know, be very aware. There's all kinds of social media and Skype, and you can do blogging. Gary set up some great blogging stuff as well.
Yeah, there's lots of free websites online you can use to set up your school blogs. So we'd set up, I think, a kid blog, I think the one was we used. It's actually now started charging, but there's many more of it. And that gave our students away from this project because we have other things going on in different year groups. So a lot of our year groups were attached with a country. We want you to learn about France, we want you to learn about this country. So setting up the blogs is quite an easy thing to do. The kids can do it. They're used to using Facebook and Twitter and things like that. And it gives them a global audience, whereas they have a blog. It's very censored, as in when they post, teachers read it, and then they agree upon it. And then they have that link class somewhere else. And they're looking at their work, they're comparing each other's work, they're seeing what's going on in my school in Dubai, in your school in India, in your school in New Zealand. And they start to understand that we're not different, we're doing the same things, we're learning the same things. We might be culturally very different, but the world is quite similar. We're all going to school, we're all being taught by teachers.
Human emotions are the same all over the world.
Yeah.
And we all need the same skills at the end.
That's what is innovation, do it differently.
And how we go about that is up to us. But at the end of the day, we need the same skills in life.
And don't be afraid to involve your students in this part as well. Get their ideas in, give them the voice to say, you know, we'd love to find out what's it like at school in Japan, like what's their day like, when do they have lunch, do they do after school clubs like us? Take your students' voice and then put that into the project as well, build it in. And I guess the final part that, you know, completes the cycle and draws it back towards that vision is, how are we doing? How do we know that our kids are getting something out of this now? There are some, you know, non-measurable indicators, if you like. Kids are happy. They ask us about Kenya. They talk to each other. They want to host. We've just completed the second year of hosting. We had more people that wanted to host kids, more families. We had more staff that also wanted to go to Kenya. So the first year we had 6. This year we sent 10. So, you know, as the profile of the project raised, more people want to be involved. But, you know, it's difficult to sort of measure, what's the impact been on the kids then? How do we know we're taking on some of these values that we want to talk about, and, you know, humility and respect for all? And you know, Gary and I, we don't have the answers for that as such, but those are things that will be the next part of our vision, if you like. How do we start measuring in sort of quantifiable terms if this has been a success? Because we can see it. Kids all are like thrilled when they're in the national newspaper, and you know, when our Kenyan friends come and visit us, they're the most popular kids in school. Everyone wants to talk to them, and so we can see that side of it, but we need to build that in day after day, week after week, so that a lot of the themes from today are just part of daily life.
I think we started out in the planning process of the vision. We started out thinking about this very simply, and we thought the way we measure success is next year more teachers want to go, next year more families want to host, next year more this. But is that measuring success? Measuring popularity within a small group, but is it affecting a whole student cohort? And that's something we're still trying to work out.
Yeah.
And it's something that you then have to get the rest of your school involved in and say, is this working? It could be you start up a working group amongst teachers, have the children change? You start up a working group amongst the parents, have your children change after this experience? Whereas Fraser says, we don't have the answer to that yet, and that might be different in everyone's school.
And even one of the talks I was at earlier on, they said that they don't want to go down that route of assessing and giving kids a test to check on it. So they had more practical, like kids working towards earning a sustainability badge, or a badge in racism or whatever it happens to be. So they're getting the skills and the values, but not necessarily in the old-fashioned way of completing a test which judges them. So this was a project, as Gary mentioned, not without hiccups in the road.
So we've already touched on fundraising earlier on. And the one thing I would say is be prepared for things to go wrong. I don't want to say failure, because it doesn't fail, you can get over that. But be prepared for things to go wrong, and regardless of what subject or what project you're doing, even down to when we were sending simple letters back and forth. When we got the letters back, we just thought it's great, they're saying they're going to go to this student. Then we quickly had a read at them and we realised, no, they can't go to that student because they're not, because of different cultures, they weren't culturally sensitive. So then we learned that lesson along the way where we didn't match kids up. It wasn't pen pals. It was a class writing letters to their class. So that then when they came, we could take out the ones that maybe weren't as appropriate for our school, and no one felt left out. But that was something we learned along the way. And it is about just trying things, finding out what's right, what's wrong, and moving on to the next one.
And certainly these projects, they weren't without logistical issues as well. So, you know, Gary and I, we're educators. We're not necessarily in the business of managing projects and budgets and finance. So when we brought our Kenyan friends over, you know, we sort of thought, well, what do you need to travel? You need a passport, right? So we said, okay, you guys have passports? Well, no, of course they didn't have passports. So then we thought, okay, how do you get a passport? And then they said, well, we need to get birth certificates. And they're like, but you have birth certificates? No, of course they don't have birth certificates. So it was going a step back and a step back, and then we're like, I think we need more funding for this. So, you know, be prepared to sort of learn along the journey as well as we have done.
The other thing, the second one here, is engaging staff. Daisy is another website. It's mostly geography based, but they also have a section like the British Council where we can connect up to other schools around the world. And it's similar to blogging, but it's closed. So you go on there, you pick a country. So if you're learning about the weather in some other region in the world, you click on it, you click on that country as you're learning about in class, you find a school. As a class, you compose a postcard and send it to that class. Then hopefully you get a response. And then it's every day, whatever you're talking about in that lesson, you can jump on there, find a country, send them a message, and hopefully get a letter back in the next week or so. The one issue we face with that, so you have to subscribe to it. It's not an expense. $40, something like that a year. It's not an expensive website. But the issue we found, we thought it was amazing. And we just passed it on to our teachers, and I was like, I've made you all a login. This is your login. Off you go. And then we realised after 2 months they weren't actually using it.
No.
Because we hadn't sold it to them. We just told them, this is what we want you to do. Do it. So when you're setting up any project, it's fine if you have that vision, that drive, determination, but you need to get that across to your staff. And you need to gauge which ones are going to do it, which ones aren't, and then focus on that. Because there's no point in me having a great idea if none of the staff agree with it. And that was one thing we learned along the way.
Yeah. And, you know, there have been undoubted successes that we've had as well. We had Year 11 students who helped us raise some money as well, and it's tied the whole of our school together, really. Parents wanted to donate things and have helped us to deliver resources to Kenya as well with some of their contacts. And it really brought the school together. You know, now we find people, like even in Year 9, things like that, they tie in a lot of their geography lessons through it, and it's been a focal point for a lot of our work in school. And you know, our staff as well, it's been great for them. They've just come back from Kenya. They went in the spring holiday, and you know, the printout that you've got there sort of shares some of their experiences, and you can see how it's touched them on a really personal and a deep level as well, this changing, and it was you know, pretty humbling, emotional experience as well. So it's something that we feel like we've given them that chance to go and do it as well, and it's really brought our school together as a community. Now, as we were saying, it doesn't have to be these big projects. It can be something like linking up with another school in Dubai, because there's so many nationalities and options out there. It can be setting up a little network. You know, there's a great SEN network where people from different countries, educators, come together and share experience and practice. There's so many different things to do. If you feel you can just identify the need in your school or an opportunity, something that you want to develop with your kids, then you just tailor all of these things that we've talked about today to suit your own setting. Maybe it's hosting an international day, which is something that we want to look at in the future as well.
I think it is important just to always think back to the community. don't forget about the whole school. Because very often we just make a project and it's for our students. And that's great, it's amazing, but we need that whole community within the school.
The next session will be
Okay.
Finish up.
I think we're finished there, guys. If you have any questions, or is there anything you would like to ask us or check in with us, or?
Where are you right now in the project?
In this project, we are 2 years in, so we've hosted twice. We've sent 2 lots of teachers out there, and now we're at the stage of how do we grow from there. We're even moving on to another country now and having both. That's where we are at the moment.
So you all basically focus at what? Going to a particular community and trying to sort of amalgamate all the cultures, how to sort of give them an exposure to the outside world.
We're trying to, as I said, we have different nationalities within our school, but the majority of them have similar culture. And what we found and the need that we found in our school is Dubai's a melting pot. There's people from all around the world. But our kids weren't getting that. They weren't getting that exposure in Dubai, which they should have been. So we chose a country or a continent that was completely different and tried to expose them to that. And now we're trying to go somewhere else, pick another one and expose them to that. Ideally we could do this in Dubai because we have all those people here. But just within our school that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
When did you do this? Like, when would you do this? Like, usually in the spring break, you said? Or?
Yeah, our teachers go during the spring break, and their kids come in February normally, and they come to us just for a normal week. They stay with the family, and then they come to school as normal. Now, in the evenings, that's really when our parent group gets heavily involved. We take them to Burj Khalifa and parks and the beaches, and we take them to the desert, things like that, to show them sort of Emirati culture as well.
But then that's where the Dubai community are amazing. So when we got this story out in the newspaper, and some of our parents started talking to their friends, we had like the company that owns the Burj Khalifa came to us and they were like, we like your project, here's 50 tickets, go up to Burj Khalifa. We had other places we went, like, here's a free meal, our restaurant's going to bring in food for it. So the community get involved. Just get the message out there.
Yeah, that becomes about promotion and just raising the profile of the project and using social media, our school social media, Instagram and things like that. And then people just flood in and they come to you with offers of help and how they can get involved. The Dubai community, as Gary said, is amazing for that.
And that brings our parents are quite similar to our children in that we have that big Emirati mix of parents. They don't necessarily socialise with the other side of our school and the other Arabs, some of the Western parents. But these sort of projects bring everyone together. With our hosting parents, we had probably 50% Emirati and 50% other nationalities. Before that week, we were one sort of massive family that spent the whole week with each other. So it was good for our parents and that too, and our students to then mix with different nationalities.
I just want to comment on the part where you measured your success. You said that you measured upon the number of joining students and happy faces and right. But didn't you set a goal from the beginning? I mean, at the beginning when you had the idea, what was the goal? This is first. And after you have finished certain part of your project, didn't you see where are you then at that time?
So at the beginning, we probably didn't think about it well enough. And our goal, I'm almost sure it was 20%.
Yeah.
On both projects was a 20% increase in uptake. That was the initial goal that we set. Now we've just finished, just 2 weeks ago, we've finished year number 2. And now we're trying to sit down, and that's something I want to ask you. What do we do now? We've got that 20%, but how do we keep measuring success? We still don't know that. We know there's happy faces. We know students have learned things, but where do we get that data from, or how do we get it?
Yeah, because in the context that we're in, it can very often be data driven and kids attaining this and progressing this much, and then we say, well, we've got good stories to tell you, but it's for us we can't totally answer that question because.
It'd be nice if you have a suggestion.
We still kind of form, and how can we?
I will literally take or have you attained that, what you had set in your mind before you started the
The
project?
objective you
Yeah,
have.
so the objective hasn't been met. Yeah, that's
I
what
think
was-
though, I think if you ask Fraser and I, we'll say yes. We had the vision that we wanted to expose our students to another culture.
I think
And
that has
I
been
believe
attained.
it's been,
Yeah.
but we would like other people within our school to come up with a way of actually measuring that. Because Fraser and I are always going to say yes.
But I think exposing to different cultures does not, stop at one point in time or one country.
That's
It has to
right.
continue.
That's
See, we
right.
say the
Something
one,
that
but
evolves
how many of us
and
are really
continues.
exposed to many other cultures?
Yes.
People,
We're not.
it's a country of vitality, but we don't even know what is the Arabic lifestyle. They don't even know what is the Indian lifestyle. You see, there's so much of disparity. Talking about global, it's something
I
like
was actually thinking of that. If
No, I was
we
thinking
do the
of
exchange
exchange,
with
you know,
different
It could
schools.
be
You see, even if a child with a first
Yeah.
time,
I mean,
You can do it within Dubai.
How many experience for playing? There's something which is the child will never forget, right? So taking a child all the way from our community, bringing and exposing to this high-tech city, how it's going to lead to a global sort of maturation in the mind. I still am lost.
That's something that we've had this question exposed to us quite a bit. And I think we understand what you're
Yeah.
asking. We took these.
How much time more will you take?
2 minutes.
2 hours.
We took these
Let us
Kenyan students from this tiny community in Kenya and we exposed them to Dubai. That's a question that we've had posed to us a lot. I think that we did everything we could to protect them. Before they arrived, we set all of our parents down and we explained to them what we wanted. When they came here, we wanted to make sure it wasn't, let's come to Dubai, we're going to buy you an iPad and send you home with a new suitcase and this. Them coming to us was about us trying to teach them about culture. So going into the desert, learning about culture. We took them to the mosque. We took them to Sheikh Mohammed Centre for Cultural Understanding. We were trying to teach them about our culture. Now, there is a possible chance that there's a negative effect where they come here and they see this massive city and then they go back there. Speaking to their teachers, we don't think that has happened. Because in their school, there's now a push for every year. They base it on academics. We don't choose the kids, they choose them. And they base it on academics and a few other ways. So their whole school now is working hard to try and get to the top of that list to come here. They all now decided they want to be pilots. They want to travel the world. They want to better themselves and they want to go to university. Hopefully it's
The key objectives, it can be more fruitful if the key objective, especially of these kind of projects, they are very well integrated with the curriculum of various schools. It will work. But that has to be integrated with the curriculum. They have a different curriculum. American schools, you people,
Yeah.
they all have different curriculums.
Yeah.
So there is no settlement or a bottom line. Where to begin with?
See, we're fortunate in that we follow the international primary curriculum, so we've been able to shape a few specific topics around this
There
whole
has to be
project.
conformity somewhere.
Uh,
Down the lane. There has to be.
A lot of our English work comes through this, so letter writing. You'd be creative with the
We
planning.
do. We are governed by the British curriculum, English curriculum, and also Arabic curriculum. But on top of that, we have IPC, the International Primary Curriculum, where we can have focus time around things like this. And we are very
Better wrap up. That's almost 2. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening and participating. Thank you.